Hi, I'm Birdman Mel, and I want to welcome you to one of the best programs I think we've ever had. I'm really excited because we're going to talk about a couple things tonight. Number one, we're going to talk about some ways to save you and get you more bang for your seed buck. So stay tuned. We're going to teach you how to save a bunch of money on your bird seed. I like saving money, I'll tell you that for darn sure. We're also going to introduce you to the very first young American birding hero. And I'm really excited to, just in a few moments, we're going to introduce a young lady to you that I saw something she did and I loved it, so I'm going to share it with you, okay? And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have fun. We're going to have lots of prizes, so keep those questions coming in because those are what's going to drive the programs this fall. Something occurred to me today. You know what? At my house, the hummingbirds are starting to say, I think I might be out of here. So I want you guys to tell me when they leave your part of the world. So reach out, let us know that, and let us know tonight. Do you still have them at your house or have they left? I did want to show you something because I forgot to show this feeder. It's made here in Mexico, Missouri, and it's a feeder that I love because it's got a nice high rim where the hummingbirds sit up on it. It just goes straight up like that for filling. Boy, I love that. It's easy. It's real heavy, real slick, real easy, and it's even got a little gas cap. I use mine. I have to fill this rascal 2-3 times a day at my house. We've got some of those big old jugs, but this guy, they eat, 3 times, so I can just pour it right through the gas cap. I don't even have to mess with anything. So I love this thing, built-in Atmo, but I use it to remind you, leave your feeders up. You won't hurt them at all. You'll help them instead. And I actually leave mine up all the way to November here in Missouri, because once in a while, a few guys that said, oh boy, honey, let's stay a little later. And then, boy, are they relieved to find out they got a little gas station called Nectar at Mel's Birdhouse. So remember to do that, okay? So please let us know, where are you from? Let us know that because it affects how I give you information. Let us know, have your hummers left? Let me know, what migrants are you seeing coming through? My lovely wife, Bev, is here, and she's helping me with questions that you send in, and she'll be handing them to me. But she was the one who first spotted. We had some Orioles coming back through this week when we were out for our early morning breakfast coffee on the deck. So look around. There's some new birds coming through your area. I know it. And let us know what new arrivals are coming from the north. I call those guys snowbirds. In fact, first question you can win a prize for. What bird does Birdman Mel call a snowbird? It's a little gray guy, hops along the ground, and he's almost always here when that first cold front comes in, and he'll stay to the last one in the spring. What would the name of that bird be? So give me that answer. So tag a friend, especially if they want to save a buck or two. Quick commercial here before we get Miss Holly on. Right now is the time you can save a lot of money all across the country because many independent stores like our Songbird station here in Central Missouri, we're having seed sales and bookings. And in our store, you can book seed for the whole season. So you guys in Central Missouri, go see our Holly. Gets a little confusing. We got 2 Hollies. Holly runs our store in Columbia, too. That's kind of cool. But go see her and book your seed needs. And you can do that at independent retailers all across America. Different people have different programs, so that everybody's not the same. But one thing that's consistent, when you go to that independently owned family business across the U.S., you're not just going to get a good value. You're going to get the best seed for your part of the world, and we'll talk about what makes that up. We'll give you some tips of what to look for, and you're going to get advice second to none on where do you feed it, when do you feed it, how much do you feed. So check out those local guys. Come see us at Songbird Station, book some seed. I do want to say that our seed is absolutely, I guarantee you, we get more birds to your feeder than anybody else in Central Missouri, and we'll share some tips, okay? Going to give you a couple more questions before we go over to Holly. Is what's the seed that Birdman Mel adds to his favorite seed? And I goofed. I was supposed to ask a different question. Number 1, what's my favorite bird seed? What's the name of it? Okay, what's it made out of? Question number 2, what do I add to it to make what I call a waste-free patio and gourmet mix? I add one other ingredient to it. What would that be? Get your answers in. First one wins. And what do I often, and I already asked this one, refer to as a snowbird? Okay, I'm going to give you that answer first. That's a junco. That little guy is one of my favorite birds. He's so polite, hops around under the feeders, eats everything, and I like him a lot. We'll talk about what all he eats. My favorite bird seed, as most of you know, is what we call Hardy Hearts, and it's just large sunflower kernels, because everybody loves that. Even the bluebirds will eat that stuff when they need it in the wintertime. That's why I'm talking about it now. And what do I love to add to that? Just a few pieces of fine chopped peanuts or tree nut pieces. And that mixture is what I've hand fed all summer on a little tray. and I got it down here. We just throw a little bit of that in here. I throw it here on this tray every morning. I do that, and boom, guess who's first one out? Tell me which bird is almost always the first bird to come see that in mid-Missouri. Give me a quick guess here, and I'll let you know the answer in a second. So before we go to Holly, I want to just go over one last thing about seed. You need to know that to get more bang for your buck, you got to realize that all sunflowers are not the same. There are a lot of differences. Number one difference is cleanliness. Cleanliness is next to godliness in birdseed. You want birdseed that has been double or triple cleaned, and that's what you get at Songbird Station, and that's what you get at independent retailers in most cases across the U.S. So look for that, ask for that. And what difference does it make? Well, it makes a lot of difference about, that's that many less sticks and junk that you got to clean out of your feeder. It's less junk to clean underneath your feeder, and it's less weeds growing up when they got that other stuff in there that ain't supposed to be in there. So keep that in mind. The other thing is you figure it out. You got 3 to 5% more good stuff. That means, that makes that seed worth 50 cents to $2 more a bag because you got more good sunflower in it. So keep that in mind. So it isn't just the price of the bag, it's how clean is it. The other thing that matters is what is the bushel weight. We actually have strict standards of how much per bushel. That bushel, like the bushel of apples my mom's going to get tomorrow on the way over to visit me. Well, it's how much there is in a bushel of sunflowers. So what does it weigh? Because light seed isn't worth near as much. And if you don't believe me, you guys put out some of that cheap stuff. You get it over at one of those discount big old boxes. Put out some seed from a store like Songbird Station or somewhere else, and watch a chickadee tell you which one's best. He'll pick them both up, and then he'll fly away with that Songbird Station. Otherwise, bring it on in the store. Let our Holly and her crew open up the seeds on that stuff from a discount store. Open up the seeds on ours, and you will see with your own eyes what the difference is between sunflowers. Okay? Last but not least, freshness is critical. Yes, we're booking seed right now, but we're going to wait and bring it in when new crop seed comes in. A lot of times this time of year, people have a seed sale, particularly discount big old box guys, and oh boy, they cleaned out all the bins in North Dakota. And that stuff, yeah, they'll eat it eventually, but I tell you what, it does not begin to compare with new crop good seed because it's got more moisture in it, just a little bit, and it's just fresher and they eat it better. And we go a step farther, as you in Central Missouri know, is all our stuff in 20-pound bags are nitrogen flushed. So that means there won't be no bugs in there because they can't even begin to think about hatching, growing, or anything because there's no oxygen in that bag. We flushed it out. So a good way to keep your seed fresh when you get it from Songbird Station, and other retailers have that too. So keep that in mind, and you're going to find that you'll get more birds with seed where people pay attention to the things I just talked about. The other thing I just said, we do guarantee you get more birds with our seed. One of the biggest reasons why is, like most retailers, we formulate it for Central Missouri birds. So those of you, that's my seed tip number one. Book your seed right now. We'll tell you in just a second how to read a seed tag. That's a big thing. It tells you what's really in that seed and who's going to eat it. But we'll do that. But first, I'm really excited, and I hope my number one, Mr. Jeffrey, my one and over, we got a young man here. We got our own high school star. Jeffrey is a senior in high school and running this thing by himself tonight for us. And he just brought up my star from North Carolina. How are you, Miss Holly? Welcome.
Hello, Birdman Mel. I am great. How about you?
I am tickled to death because you are here with us, because one of my greatest joys is seeing young people that love birding, and you obviously do. We put up with you and me a couple slides, and the first one was an Eastern Bluebird, but before we do that, you and I got acquainted because somebody told me you're a pretty darn good Girl Scout. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, I've been a Girl Scout since I was a daisy in kindergarten, and I've done my bronze award and silver award so far, and now I'm working on my gold award, which is the best achievement that a Girl Scout can get.
Now that gold award is somehow tied in to these, and these are big signs that you've made. Am I correct? And the first one there's on the Eastern Bluebird. Now, how's that connected?
So for my gold award, you have to build something that's sustainable and also helps the community. So what I decided to do was make a fun and interactive birding trail. It's
Cool.
It's going to be on the property of Sela Ranch, which is owned by the Pure Hope Foundation, which is a wonderful group of people who work for a nonprofit that helps to restore victims of sex trafficking.
Hey, that's fantastic. Well, you got a bluebird sign up there. Now you said that was the first one you put up. Anything particularly you like about bluebirds?
I just think that bluebirds are amazing, and I've seen a lot of bluebirds around my neighborhood, and they're also really common in the part of Texas where I'm putting these up. And I've always been able to hear their songs, which you can see on over here, and I think it's just real. They're just really nice.
That's
I also love that
fantastic.
they're distinctive with their beautiful blue.
Oh, you bet. They're one of my favorites, and I actually plan to put up some new bluebird houses this weekend. So it's timely seeing this sign there. Now, I think your second one up is the Cardinals. Is that right?
Yes, and I did my cardinal second because I just love cardinals, and they always come to my feeder in the backyard and eat lots and lots of sunflower seeds.
Oh, they like those things, don't they?
Hmm.
You know, here in Missouri, we're kind of particular and partial to those Cardinals because that's our baseball team that, some years have done pretty good. They won one, lost one today, so old Birdman Mel's kind of happy, not sad. But Cardinals, if you ask anybody in America, you were wise to put that sign up, Holly, because cardinals are the number one bird Americans love. That's
Yeah.
when you ask anybody, that's the first one. So you did great doing that.
Hmm.
Then I'm really proud of you. You got out of the box a little bit on this next one. You know a little bit about birds. Let's put that next one up, Jeffrey. Tell me what you got on this sign and how you picked this bird.
So my grandparents who live in Texas, whenever we go over to visit them, they often have like a killdeer that's just nesting in the very middle of their road. So we can just walk right up to it and we can see them flutter around and try to knock us away, and we can see their eggs like really easily. So we have to put up flags on the road to make sure we don't run over them.
Now, have you seen that killdeer do that little fake thing where he does that flap wing and he kinds to get you to get away with him?
Yeah, it's fascinating. I love watching them
Yeah,
do
and that's in the gravel that you see those eggs, right?
that.
Now, I've heard rumor that your grandpa was maybe on my show at one
Ah,
time, and you and I just figured that out tonight. I should have knew better. Tell everybody who your grandpa is and how did you get going in birding?
yeah, so my grandparents' name is Bob McFarland. And I got interested in birding because of him, because he owns a lake, and lots of different birds love to live on that lake. They have great blue herons and wood ducks and black-billed whistling ducks and all sorts of different birds. And so whenever I go over there, sometimes they have rescued the baby birds that got left behind by their mothers in the wood duck boxes. And so I've been able to hold and feed these birds, and I love it. It's amazing.
What a way to get introduced. I think I saw a picture of you and grandma together, didn't I, with one of those birds?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to try to post that in the next 24 hours, so folks, stay tuned. We're going to show you some more things, a couple photos that Holly shared with us. And Holly, I just want to thank you so very, very much for joining me tonight. You are the reason that I even do these shows because getting youth involved in birding is so, so important. And I'm just so very proud. You did a great job here tonight. Do you Zoom every week or how you do this often?
Yeah, my school uses Zoom, so.
Okay, I guess Birdman Mel was the last one in the world to learn how to do this stuff. But you did great, and I am just so tickled to have you. Thanks a lot for joining us, and
Thank
look forward to talking to you some more in the future, okay?
Yes.
Well, congratulations on that Gold Award. I know you're going to get it. So we will catch you later.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Folks, if you know anybody in your community that should be nominated for our Young Hero, our Young Birding Hero Award, it's done something great like Holly's done, let us know because I'd like us to share with each other. And sometimes we'll have them on the air. Sometimes we may just put it on the website. But I think it's important that we publicize and encourage the youth of America to get involved in birding. So I hope you enjoyed that. It just made my night. So I appreciate you all joining. Please send your comments to Holly via the Birdman Mel Facebook comments because I know she'll enjoy hearing from you and she'll particularly love your encouragement. Okay, I promised you a couple more tips and we're going to build into some non-seed tips. We'll hit a couple of those tonight, and next week we're going to hit some more. And don't let me forget, at the very end, I want to tell you, or if we don't get her done, I'll post it. We got our schedule for the next 4 to 6 weeks all lined up, so I'll be telling you the great things that are ahead. I did want to mention to get more bang for your seed bucks, you need to know how to read the label on the seed bag. I already told you this here thing, black oil sunflowers, That's my favorite. And I don't know how good you can see it in the camera, but this is that good, clean stuff. And this is one of those bags that never get bugs, you know? Same way, here's that mix in where this is the heart of the sunflower. And then that's with those low pieces not in there, and that's that patio mix that I love. But then we start looking at things like this. This happens to be my favorite mix we sell over at the store, Essential Nuts and Berries. And we got some questions here. I better get these here. And one of them says, well, what's the best seed for winter? Well, the highest octane seed you can get is, the number one thing would be suet, and we'll be talking about suet. But as far as the seed, it should all start with that black oil sunflower seeds, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to add a few nut pieces. That's what I did. Kind of went overboard there on that gourmet stuff, but that's why I only hand feed a little bit of it on a tray there. And then what I've done here is the kind of seeds that I like for winter. And what we've done is we've added, we went from there and we've added a little bit of fruit. And I don't put this in a tube feeder because that fruit can kind of clog it up sometimes if it isn't eaten right away because it has a little bit more moisture. So this is meant to put on a tray like I showed you earlier, or to put in a hopper. And then a little bit of safflower. Cardinals like those. Same way, a little bit of the gray striped sunflower. Now you don't want to buy those straight because you think about it, and the baseball players, they're not allowed to spit them things this year, so they're not eating so many. But the reality is, all the good ones humans eat on stripes. And you ask what is the best seed for winter? Well, that little black oil seed is because it has the most energy. The oil in there gives the birds more energy, per little bit that you can get, okay? And then after that, I just add, that's about it, just a little bit of millet. So many mixes, and one of my other tips is, number one, don't feed a mix that's got Milo, that's got oats, that's got wheat in it. All of those are just fillers. And it's important you look at that label, and I meant to look at that when I was holding it up with you. Number one thing you want to do is say, okay, what's in there the most? Well, that's going to be the ingredient listed first. So on that seed there, it was, let me grab it, sorry about that. Guess what? Sunflower meats, okay? So there's actually more sunflower meats in here by weight than anything else. And then we intentionally put some safflower in here, and that's number 2 because the cardinals, a lot of other birds like that. And a few of the birds, the other reason I put safflower in is squirrels don't seem to like it as much, and those grackles and stuff don't like it, and I don't like grackles. And then number 3's black oil sunflower, 4's peanut pickouts, 5, then we start in on the fruit. So, that's why I call this the perfect seed. But most mixes, you're gonna, if you're not careful, millet, and millet's got a place. That's this little white seed. But the problem with this is really the only birds that like it tend to be on the ground. And somebody said ideals for feeding quail and not squirrels. Right here, I find that my quail, and the main reason, remember Mel's bird, that junco, that his favorite, well, they eat this stuff. So I put it on a ground tray, and I meant to bring one, I didn't, but it's just a little screened in thing with 4 legs on it. And I just throw her, underneath the bushes and stuff. We got some evergreens. And even before we build our house, one of my favorite things, if you haven't done this, just throw a little seed underneath the trees. They'll come, they love it. You don't have to buy fancy feeders all the time, okay? So that's good things. They say, do birds eat holly berries? You bet they do. And they eat a lot of different berries. That's why you'll see around my yard a lot of different trees and things. We have crab apples, we have bittersweet, we have different things that are all berry producing, okay? And there's a lot of different native plants. And I'll go back and I'll post in the next day or two my favorite native plants that have berries. Now, the hollies that most of us have are not necessarily native, but the birds will eat those. But you'll see that many times it'll be January, February, even March sometimes where they eat some of the berries, because that's when it gets good enough. And the birds that really go for those is the cedar waxwings. You'll see them come, but you'll see a lot of different birds, robins, different ones. When they need seed, they will eat those, okay? Couple questions here on bird bass. We're going to try to hit that tonight, but probably some more next week. So good questions there on best bird bass for winter. The biggest thing you want is a heated one, and you want one that almost all the ones that we recommend have thermostats in them, and we'll cover those in a little bit. So I like those questions. I'll just have to ask you to be patient, and we'll hit those next week for you, and I'll bring some for you to see, okay? It's great questions. The other thing I wanted to make sure you do is, that tree nut pieces are good. You want those in your mix, the safflower, all those things I showed you. A little bit of cracked corn is okay. I come from farm country, and some of our mixes have way too much cracked corn. I gotta admit, I went in a store today where the whole darn thing was millet and milo. Well, guess what? If you put that in any kind of feeder, it's going to end up on the ground. And you know, if you're raising chickens, it might be pretty good feed, but it's not what I would feed wild birds. So when you see those things, you need to know they're just suckering you in on a price, a bag. And the very few people I know that's ever tried to feed the birds and don't like it say, well, I bought that seed down the, the grocery store or whatever, and it all ended up on the ground. Nobody ate it. Well, it was because it was full of milo. And there's another word I saw on that label I hadn't seen in a while, grain byproducts. You see that, you run, or you take it home and you feed it to chickens. Those are just things that lower the price of the seed. So some very important things. Could you help me move that little sign there so I can see how I'm doing there on the time? Okay, I got a little clock here that we keep that gives me a thing. And they accidentally put a sign in front of it that said smile. So here I am. I forgot. Sorry about that. Okay, other things that you got to remember is seed cakes are the same way. Order of ingredients are the most. So whatever's first is the most. And in almost every suet cake, it better be suet. Okay? Well, Birdman Mel's favorite suet cake, and you want to know what to feed in the winter to help the birds, make sure you're feeding suet. Okay? And I say my favorite suet cake has suet, peanut butters, and peanut. And they just happen to call that thing Pine Tree Farms peanut butter suet. And it's my number one favorite. When a friend comes in, when I give suet cakes to my mom, whatever, I start everybody on that. Now, it's a little bit more expensive, so it's important we have a seed cake that competes at Songbird Station with everybody else. So we do have an awful good one that we also sell that's called Nutty Treat from a different outfit, C&S. And we're lucky that we've grown. God bless all you retailers out there. We serve the majority of independent retailers across the U.S. So you guys in Central Missouri, we got all this stuff, so we kind of pick and choose for you. And most every other retailer does the same thing for you guys out there in different parts of the world if you go to a good local guy. Those masses, they go for whatever's cheap and, ends up on the ground. Wonder why the birds didn't eat it. Bad seed. So keep that in mind. But anyhow, our Nutty Treat has suet number 1, and then corn slips in there number 2, and then peanuts. So instead of having it full of millet, which many seeds, if you look, millet will be number 2, or milo will be number 2, or many suets. Look at that thing, and we don't call ours high energy, but I tell you what, it's a heck of a lot more high energy than the stuff I'm seeing sold everywhere else. So don't mean to badmouth any store or any type of seed, but the reality is it's the ingredients, and this is the takeaway from all this blabbering I've been doing. It's the ingredients in the mix and the energy in the ingredients that make the difference in the winter. It's not the name of the seed. High energy don't mean squat. You can put high energy on a cake full of milo. Okay? 2 tips, though. One thing I don't like is sometimes starlings come in the winter and they like to eat my suet, and they like to get on the side of it. Most suet cakes are a big old square. Came up with one, and actually a guy up in Iowa did this and let us market it. It's called a suet saver. And look at it, for a long time we've had cakes like this that you could only feed from the bottom that was great big like this. Keep the starlings away. You'd flip it down upside down. You do want to raise these up high because they'll go from the ground, they'll go up. My daughter Becky one time said, Dad, you told everybody at that talk she was, just early teenagers, and now they don't get that starling. Well, what happened? Birdman Mel got lazy, had his suet feeder down here. They go up, grab a bite, go back. Children are great. They keep you honest. But you get these suet savers, it's a lot harder to get, and it stretches your seed dollar. Big old birds can't come up there and eat a lot. And we got a model here also for big old suet cakes. And if you don't know, there are 3-pound suet cakes out there. If you got a bunch of big suet cake eaters, I'm not too good at opening this, but in here I got a seed cake. There are also big old 3-pound seed cakes. And I love feeding these because if you go away for a weekend or something, there's always, even in the harshest storms, these big old seed cakes, it's a neat way. So that's a tip I want to tell you is make sure you come in, check out our seed cakes and our seed logs at Songbird Station or at your local independent retailer. Okay? Just some good tips there. Those suet saver feeders will feed you a lot. The other thing is right now it's important to keep those feeders full. You may say, well, they're not eating much. Excuse me. Don't keep them full. Just put enough in there to keep it fresh and keep it out because birds are going around and looking about where are they going to get their food this winter. Because they get, the typical bird makes like 20, 25 stops. So they're doing that little drill there. And, they're going to go all around and do that. So you want to make sure they got your place in one of those spots. And this is the time of year, that tray I had, that's why every morning I throw some out there and get them some to eat, okay? Somebody just sent in a question, can you make your own suet? You bet you can, and it's a neat family activity. in the past. I know last spring when we did this program, we had to put a few recipes on making your own suet, and we'll put some more up in the next week. So keep tuning in. I'll try to put in up several a day, or we'll get them up there as quick as we can. Some neat where you can make your own. It isn't necessarily a way to save money or make a better suet, but it is a fun thing to do with your children and your grandchildren. So good question. They say, what birds like the suet with the berries in it? Well, a lot of the berries is sometimes there for you as much as the as much as the birds, because so many of those are artificial pellets. If you look close on particularly the brand in the big boxes, Pine Tree and a couple others have real fruit in there, like real blueberries and orange in the summertime. So there's a few of the birds that will come and eat that suet in the late winter, the early summer, when the berries aren't so much around. But I don't overly sell that, so just a good thing. I said, should I keep feeding the Hummers? Absolutely. Like I told you at the very first, let's keep feeding them all the way until 1st of November in this part of the world. Gonna look here for a couple more questions. I love these. Bird bath, we've had a lot of them. Any tips to discourage the dove? Well, my neighbor uses a shotgun, but I guess we can't do that everywhere. But the biggest thing is there's some coverings that you can feed. If the doves are driving you crazy, there are some cages you can put around your feeder, or you can use a cage feeder. So that's a good thing. I'm going to quit now. We will be talking next week about how to save some money on another thing I love, and I brought it in. Oops, it's way over there. Bev, would you hand me that thing? My dear wife, Bev's good. Thank you, Bev. Over here on the ground, I do want you to see these whole peanuts. These are not things you would, eat at the ball game or feed an elephant. These are you would feed it to an elephant. These are unsalted, and I tell you what, we have more fun. I want to tell you this quick tip. We put them out on the rail every morning, and guess who's the first bird that comes grab ones? You win a prize if you give this. And then the big old blue jays come, so hope you didn't guess blue jays. And then, we're sitting there, we're having our coffee, they take one, they go away. Then another little guy, my favorite, grabs one, goes away, grabs one, goes away. That's the chickadee, so if you guessed him, you're wrong. But the first guy, peanuts almost as big as his head, is the tufted titmouse comes by too. But the titmouse is almost always the first one that comes and grabs that. Once in a while we have a nuthatch, once in a while we have a downy. So a fun way, and then of course Mr. Squirrel comes and cleans it all up. So we'll talk more about whole peanuts and a bunch of other fun stuff next week, and some tips as far as buying feeding your squirrels and feeding everything else, and what to do as far as a checklist for the fall. Number one, be cleaning your feeders. 1 part bleach, 9 parts water. Okay, make sure you do that. We got these brushes really good for cleaning them really good. So be ready for that. If you haven't tagged a friend, you better, because they're going to want to hear what we said about saving money on seed. So now's the time to do it. It'll still help you win a prize. If you haven't been sending those pictures in of your hummingbirds at the feeders, make sure you do. You'll win one of these feeders. Or most of all, remember the grand prize is going to win one of these big old stained glass things, or a little one, or a bird bath here with a hummingbird on it. This month we're going to pick the best video and the best photo that comes in. So you're going to want to send those in. And please keep sending all your photos. Almost always I try to send some little prize out to everybody that sends a photo. So do that and let me surprise you. And please encourage your children to send in those drawings, those pictures of them doing something with you. Send in a picture making your own homemade suet. I guarantee if you give me an address, I'm going to send a little something from Birdman Mill to your son, your daughter, your grandchild, because we want to encourage people to be like Holly. Get interested in birding early on, working with Grandpa and Grandma like they kind of did with those baby ducks there with Miss Holly. God bless you guys. And that is what it's all about, helping folks enjoy nature. So I want to not forget to say a big thank you. Jeffrey's done a great job. Thank you, Jeffrey. Ran this studio by himself. Also want to thank our main man here as far as Jacob Lennon coming in and helping us this afternoon. And also Jacob was kind enough to come on out. He heads up our crew here at GoCrest. And I want to thank Brenda, everybody here at GoCrest that gets those prizes out to you guys. Brenda, and then we got Georgie, everybody. They all make it happen. And behind the scenes, you got Erica and Annette that are back there. They help me get all this done ahead of time and post it and all that. So keep asking those questions. And don't forget, like I say all the time, take 5 minutes, kind of like Bev and I did there. We've been known to sit in the evenings and have a beverage too. And watch the birds around you. Touch, listen, think about what's going on. And you'll see why we say nature is a stress reliever for God. Take time to listen to the birds sing. Before you leave me, I got the schedule Upcoming weeks, I'll tell you real quick. September 17th, that's a week from tonight. Old Birdman Mel is going to give you some more tips on how to save seed money, but we're going to get into things to do like, there's some things you better be doing with your birdhouses right now, and I'll tell you how to get them winterized. There's some things people ask about what bird bass. Man, that was dead on. Water attracts 10 times more birds than food, so we'll talk about the best kind of bird bass for the winter. Then on the 24th, You've Asked, and Stan Tequila will be here, and he's going to talk about bird migration on September 24th. October 1st, you asked for these guys to come back. Jim and Julie are going to talk about owls. And guys, I want to thank them. I think they're listening. Jim and Julie, God bless you for doing that. And October 8th, Stan's going to come back, and he's going to talk about the changes coming in birding and around your feeders. So a great program coming up. You're going to hear a little bit of me each night, but a whole lot of some people that really know what they're talking about. So got some great programs coming. So stay tuned. We'll keep talking about ways you can save more bang for your buck. And don't forget, share that with your friends, tag them, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.